For more on this story now, let's bring in Douglas Herbert, our international affairs commentator. Doug, on the surface, this seems like a relatively uncontentious treaty, but there has been lots of anger and lots of fake information swirling around the internet. What's out there and who is putting it out?
A lot of fallacies. I've called it a pact of lies and conspiracy theories, basically swirling around this treaty. And you've had a lot of extreme right, as I'll call them, politicians here in France, but also in Germany, seizing on this treaty to sort of whip up fears about what they perceive as a loss of national sovereignty, so sovereigntists. And what are some of the claims they're making? Now, the treaty, at essence, is a little bit of old wine in a new bottle. It's an update of that 56-year-old treaty, which is trying to sort of forge even closer ties, more cooperation, education, culture, IT, artificial intelligence, foreign policy, defense, all of that. But they've turned it into a treaty which is trying to essentially turn France into a vassal state of Germany. And what is some of the more, I would say, outrageous lies being spread? Well, one of them is, no, France is not selling Alsace-Lorraine. Let's keep that up there for a second. Alsace-Lorraine being two regions in the east of France, which once were part of Germany, and then after World War II became part of France again. And the sovereigntists have been basically trying to say a secret treaty has been signed, a secret agreement to cede control of Alsace-Lorraine to Germany. Absolutely not. Simply a false claim. That's not the case. Yes, closer border cooperation because it's a border region. They'd like to see more economic ties, more cooperation across the border. They share border with Germany, but absolutely not anything to do with ceding control. France isn't sharing its seat on the United Nations Security Council with Germany. This is another one of these lies expounded by tribunes of the far right. What is it doing? Well, if you read the treaty's fine print, it basically calls for exchanges between French officials, representatives of France who do have a permanent seat on the Security Council, and high-level German diplomats, including the German ambassador to the UN, who has a temporary seat for 2 years on that body. Exchanges, basically. And France, it's written into the treaty, does support Germany's long-standing, some would say a little far-fetched ambition to have a permanent seat on the Council. That is a far cry from ceding or sharing a seat. You'd have to have UN treaties basically revised in order to do that. I'll just say German is not about to become the official language of eastern regions of France, i.e. Alsace-Lorraine, which we were speaking about before. No, what they are promoting in this treaty, like I said, closer cultural ties, more education, bilingualism, is that a dirty word? Having more people in those border regions be taught each other's language. It's not making an official language of Germany. It's not a vassal state that France is about to become, or a superstate. So these are all things that have been propounded at a very delicate moment. In geopolitically, we have European elections coming up, populist nationalists poised to perhaps make big gains in those elections. These are the types of things that appeal to those to the scaremongers who'd like to whip people up into a frenzy over a loss of national sovereignty.
So that's what's not in this document. What about what's actually
in it, though?
Because
yes.
We know France and Germany, they've been close friends, allies for a long time. This document was first signed 56 years ago. Why sign something new now?
Why something? Because it needed a sort of 2.0, they think. You need to reboot. And look, critics have said that this is, heavy on the symbolism, light on the substance. And you know what? One retort to that is, okay, Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron aren't calling this a rewrite of the treaty. They say it's meant to complement the old treaty rather than rewrite it and totally revise it. And what it does basically is it enhances those ties in areas like foreign affairs, security cooperation, mutual defense. If there's a terror attack against one country, they will cooperate on fighting terror, on common resources, stuff like, exports of military equipment, try to come up with some sort of common harmonized policies, as you say, cultural, economic ties, educational ties, trying to bring the two sides closer together. And yes, in those border regions we're talking about, which do share a common border, to try to give them a little greater autonomy to cooperate across borders. So there is some substance in the pact, but more than anything is the leaders are recognizing there is a heavy symbolic element here, and that symbolism should not be sneezed at, because at this time when the European project is seen as weakened, a bit diminished, those who support Europe being seen as under attack from populists, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of ceremony and pomp and circumstance by high-level leaders to show that, yes, we still believe in the European project, and this is why we believe in it, and here's what we're doing to try to keep promoting it.
All right, Doug, thank you very much for your thoughts. Douglas Herbert there.